morning, Rakaya.
Good morning, Derrin.
Today we have Rakaya on the show today, and I am just so excited to sit down with you because I've heard so many good things about you being in our program at ProAct. And so you're involved in our Kids in Action program at Willow Lake Elementary School, right?
Yes.
And how are you liking it so far?
At school?
At school? Or in the program?
Fun.
It's fun? What makes it fun?
All the good things you can experience.
And so give me two examples of the good things that you have experienced so far.
Going new places and helping other people with your environment.
Okay, good. Okay. And then we are here not so much to talk about ProAct because we do enough of that already. I want to get to know you, and I want our listeners to get to know who you are and the lives of who the kids that ProAct engages in and works with each and every week. All right? Are you ready to have that conversation?
Mm-hmm.
Are you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, before we get started to know about who you are, you have prepared 3 questions to ask me. And I got a glance of these questions, and they are hard. So, you go. You ask me questions first, and we'll start that way, and then I'll ask you my questions. You ready?
What is the best compliment you ever received?
What is the best compliment I have ever received? I looked at that right before you hit record, and I still don't have a good answer for that. The best compliment I ever received is probably that my voice has power, and it is the biggest gift I have. And that is the best compliment that I've ever received because for so long in my life, Rakaya, I never thought that my voice was good because I have a stuttering problem. And I never thought that I had anything of value to give to other people. And to think that what I thought was my biggest weakness, other people telling me that it's my greatest strength, that's one of the best compliments I've ever received. And it makes me feel good, and it makes me want to use my voice more to help empower and inspire other people. Is that good?
Yeah.
All right, yes. Next question.
Have you ever had to end a friendship? How did you know and how to end?
Say that again.
Have you ever had to end a friendship? How did you know and it had to end?
Have I ever had to end a friendship, and how do I know that it had to end? I have. Yeah, there is a friend that I grew up with, and we went to church together, and we were always like hip on hip. I mean, it was me and him attached at the hip, just doing everything we could. So Rakaya, I was a preacher's kid. You know what that is? That means my dad is a preacher, and I grew up in the church. So I was at church probably like.
I heard of the word before.
You heard the word preacher's kid before? Well, I was a preacher's kid or a PK. All right, and there's a certain like type of person that preachers' kids are. Like, we're usually the ones that are like the kids in church that act up, right? When our dad's or parent is a teacher or a preacher, I mean. And I was a PK, and I had a friend in my church, and we were really good friends. We were always over each other's houses. We were always getting into trouble together. We were always having fun together, and we were just best of friends. But as we grew up, our life, both of our lives took a different path. I mean, I went to college, and my friend did not, and he was engaged in more activities that I wasn't engaged in, and so I'll leave it at that. And so when I come back home from college, or when I grew up and got a job and things like that, I knew it had to end because we were never on the same page when we grew up. We were just in different areas of life and different stages of life. And I had a lunch with him one time, and we just didn't really have much to talk about. It was like we were just two completely different people then. And when I kept reaching out to try to get to know who he was now or is now, I it wasn't the same. It didn't feel the same, and I felt like I was trying to reach out and save a friendship that someone didn't really want. And so that's when I knew it had to end. And so yes, I had to do that before. And what I knew was when there wasn't any give back, like it was all me giving and not this individual being a friend to me when I needed a friend the most. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Has it happened to you yet in your, 11 years of life?
10.
10 years of life?
Mm-hmm.
It's happened? Really?
Yeah.
So tell us about that. So now it's your turn.
It was one friend from about fourth grade,
Mm-hmm.
and we were friends, and then she was acting weird, different when she came around other people.
How so?
She didn't let me join any of her groups or anything like that.
So she was kind of like not including you into like the social sphere that she had. Yeah, how'd that make you feel?
I mean, I had other friends, so didn't really make me feel like anything.
I gotcha. So, but you knew it had to end. Why? Because she was not including you into the groups that she was a part of now? I see. Okay. Good. Well, then, your next question for me then.
If you made up your own national holiday, what would it be called and how would we celebrate?
If I made it my own national holiday, it would probably be because I am who I am. So, if I could say 2 days, is that cool?
Yeah.
If I had 2 national holidays, one national holiday would be National Service Day. And because ProAct's all about service and giving back to the community, we will all take a day off and go serve an organization. We will have to do that. Serve an organization or someone, a neighbor. It could be anybody. But the day will be filled with just giving back to other people and getting to know other people that are different than us. And so I would love that. And that's how we would spend it. And that's what we would do. And we'll just break bread with someone that we typically don't eat with or talk with and build relationships with. And it'll be a great thing. And the second day would be, I so wish that we had a national holiday to vote. I wish that we got the day off from work to vote. And I don't know why we don't do that. I don't know why it's not prevalent. And I don't know why people are suppressed in their vote to vote for our next leader of our country, city, or town. All right. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So, Rakaya, are you ready for me to ask you some questions?
Yes.
Don't roll your eyes. You ready?
Yes.
All right, my friend. So, my first question for you is, who is someone in your life that you would like to thank and why?
Someone like that I would like to thank will be my mom, my auntie, and my grandpa.
Your mom, your auntie, and your grandpa. Why?
So I would like to thank my grandpa because he takes care of all of my cousins when my mom and them have to work. And I would like to thank my auntie because she's really silly and she's really entertaining. And my mom because she takes care of us every day. She have a roof over our house and yeah.
That's good. So tell us about your auntie some more. So how is she funny?
Because sometimes I try to mess with her and then sometimes it backfires because sometimes she knows what I'm trying to do to her because I do it pretty often.
So you try to annoy her?
Yeah.
So she's like a big sister to you then? Kind of.
Yeah.
And this your mom's sister or your dad's sister?
My mom's sister.
Your mom's sister. Okay. And so what's the funniest thing or funnest thing that she's ever done with you or to you?
Probably like last week or something like that. We Well, actually, yesterday she bought us these word search Avenger books, and we actually did it together.
Oh, nice. So she takes time and takes care to be with you and see you.
Yeah,
Yeah, and do you have siblings?
yeah.
How many?
Well, I have two, but I barely even see my second one.
Okay. And why is that?
I don't know. She lives far away.
She lives far away.
Yeah.
So tell us about your parents then. So is this sister of yours, is she your mom's daughter or your dad's daughter?
My dad's daughter.
Okay. And so she's a half sibling for you. And so how does that make you feel not to see that sister?
I mean, she calls me. It's just that she lives far away.
Where she live?
Peoria, Illinois.
Peoria? Okay. Oh yeah. So Illinois. I've passed by there before. I've never been there before. So that's good. So tell us about your mom. So what's your mom like?
My mom is fun. She loves to cook, and she loves to watch TV.
She loves to watch TV.
Yeah.
What's her favorite thing to watch?
Oh, probably something with polices and stuff.
Does she want to be a police officer or in law enforcement?
No.
Oh, it's just the drama behind the
Yeah, probably like that.
cops.
Yeah, like that doctor movie, and something NCIS.
Okay, yeah, I gotcha. So Grey's Anatomy type things. Okay, I see. Those drama-filled shows. Yeah, your mom seems like she is an awesome, awesome woman, and I'm so excited to have the opportunity to meet her as well. And she's raising a phenomenal daughter as well. And you're smiling because you know it's true. And so I ask every young person this, but because we're in a world that really makes us feel down sometimes, right? And so I always ask about happiness. What does happiness mean to you?
Is when someone gives or are willing to give something to you that you are really in need of, or when you say you took someone out because they have been feeling down under depression or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
You take them, you give them everything they want, and then maybe they're proud and ready to get back up on their feet and stuff.
Sure. So you're feeling a need for them, or like what I like to say, standing in the gap for them.
Yeah.
You rolled your eyes to that too. It's okay. And so I appreciate you for sharing that, because one thing I want people to know is that when we stand in the gap for others, when we help meet needs for them, we help empower them to see the good in people and in themselves. And I always think that when we give to other people, that it encourages them to give back to other people too, because we know how it feels. All right. So have you had that experience before?
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
Wait, what?
Have you had the experience of someone giving to you that made you feel so good and so happy about yourself that it helped you give back to other people?
Something when they say we be stuck in the house all day, there's nothing to do. My mom, my auntie, and them takes the time out to actually go out to eat.
Okay.
Like today, we should be going out to eat.
So you like that time that you get to spend with family, where you're just sitting and enjoying each other.
Yeah, but not in a crowded space.
Not in a crowded space. Okay. Yeah, so it's more intimate.
I really like sometimes, because my cousins, they hate going outside, but I love to. My brother and my two cousins hate to go outside. So most of the time, I'm the only one outside, and then I just play with the people that are outside. But sometimes my mom and their auntie force them to get off their electronics to go outside. Because if I can go outside every day and do something, I can. I'd rather be outside than on electronics.
That is so different for how I see young people be today. Because my son is 13, and he would prefer to be in the house playing Fortnite or Call of Duty.
Yeah, we had an Xbox, but My mom really doesn't know how to work it, so
Really? Yeah,
we just play on like computers, phone, and TV.
I see.
But
And I used to play so much, and now I don't as much anymore.
sometimes,
But
like with this weather, sometimes when we try to go outside. I ask to go outside, but sometimes it's bad weather. And they tell us to go do something. I'll just get on the computer and just stare at it when there's really just a wallpaper on there.
really, what? That's boring. Why would you do that?
It makes me fall asleep when I have nothing to do.
Okay, all right. So you would much rather prefer to be outside doing something and doing something active.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you an athlete, Rakaya?
I mean, no. I mean, our new teacher, Mr. Anderson, in April, he's picking 82 students in the 5th grade, and I hope I go because we're going to go to a middle school, and in that middle school, we're going to race the middle school people. I think it's middle school. I don't know what's
Okay.
high school or something. And I'm actually very good at stuff.
And what are you good at? So it sounds like this
Basketball.
is track, right? That your gym teacher's going to engage
Yeah.
you in.
We're
Right?
going to do a 4-mile, a 10-mile race or something like that.
Okay.
I'm good at basketball, sometimes soccer, not really soccer. I can spend all day with a hula hoop, and I can do jump
Okay.
ropes.
So you said you're not an athlete a moment ago, and then you just said that you're really good at all these sports.
Yeah.
So would you say, so I'll ask again, are you an athlete?
No,
Yes, you are. You're an athlete. Own it. Say, I'm an athlete. Say it right now.
I'm an athlete.
Yes. Say it again. Say, I am an athlete. Own that.
I am an athlete.
Yes. Own it, because I heard that you are a very good athlete. So you need to own that. All right. And so cultivate that too. I mean, you might find some passion there as well. And so I'll be looking forward to Mr. Anderson involving you in this track meet.
No, I might not. He might. Most of the time, he just picks the boys.
Well, you need to go up to him and be like, hey, Mr. Anderson, I'm going to tell Mr. Anderson right now on this podcast, and you're going to show him to him. All right? Is that fair?
No.
Please do it. If you don't, I'll find Mr. Anderson and tell him to include you in that group of 82 students to do this track meet. Yes. All right. My next question then is, what is something that people misunderstand about you, Rakaya?
That I'm very active.
Oh, I thought you were about to say athletic. But like, yes! Yeah, go ahead.
I'm
You're very
very-
active?
Yeah, and that I love to talk, and that I cannot sit down. Like, it's so hard to stay still
And why is that?
because it's not fun.
You're sitting still right now.
Yeah, but I'm keep moving.
Yeah, so I have ADD and my son has ADHD, and so I get that. Yeah, people think that.
But I don't have it.
Yeah, and that's okay, right? But I understand and empathize with that when people might misunderstand our activity or lack of attention as being not caring in some respects, or not being attentive to what is being said. I think it's a superpower, right? And so why do you think that people misunderstand that you are active? Why is that a misunderstanding?
Because when they're new, I don't really do much, and that in school it's not really a lot to move around, like our outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
I can actually move around, can run, I can chase people.
Okay, all right. So you want people to know that you are an active person,
Yeah.
right? Okay, that's good. What's one thing that you learned about life not from a teacher, Rakaya?
That one thing that I learned in life about life is that you have to work for things.
You have to work for things. Tell me more about that.
Chores, you have to do chores to earn things. Like yesterday, I had to wash the dishes, and I got a pickle and some chips and a candy.
That's good. And that's so important because you were not going to come today, right?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because the weather, I don't really like the weather. At first, I was nervous. And that I have to do laundry.
I got you. And you have to work in life. And your mom, I think, taught you a very important lesson today. And why? And what was that lesson?
I don't know.
Well, you committed to something, and you were about to back out last minute.
Oh.
And your mom
To stand
said,
in the gap.
yes, your mom told you.
It was
She
too
encouraged you
late.
to come still. And I'm so glad because you have such a beautiful voice and such a beautiful personality that I think people should know about that, all right? I think folks should know who you are, and I think it will give you an opportunity to be encouraged too. So I'm glad you decided to come still, right? And so ProAct is all about, our mission is to stand in the gap for vulnerable populations while empowering youth to actively transform their communities.
Mm-hmm.
So based on your experience so far, Rakaya, with ProAct and engaging in our curriculum after school and then in our service projects, how would you encourage other youth your age to stand in the gap for others?
To stand in the gap for others, I would encourage them to do that because it helps out our community, our environment, and it also helps out people to get back on their feet, to live lives like you would want to live your life. Mm-hmm. And maybe that it's really important to help people the way you want. If, say, that somebody wasn't getting help, but you were, you can actually give that to them because you know you're going to get that again, but they're probably not going to ever get that again.
I see. So explain to me more about what that means.
Treat others the way you want to be treated.
Oh, yeah. That's exactly what I would have said to sum that up. I love that. You're very smart, Rakaya, and I'm so excited that you're here today. But I just want to appreciate your time and respect your time. And I thank you for spending a Saturday with me just to talk and hear a bit more about who you are. So, Rakaya, thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Have a nice day.
You have a nice day, too.
It brought everything in perspective because I was almost like at a malaise. I was just meandering.
Sure.
While they are simple words, they are profound because they were timely words.
Sure. You came at just the right time.
Came at the right time. I was getting ready and wanted somebody to validate, to join my pity party and say, oh, yeah, hell, go on, quit. Go on, get this up. Go on. You know, you wasted too much time.
Success is not achievable alone. We all have a story of a person who took a risk, someone who imagined a life greater than what we could, someone who stood in the gap. This show shares those someones, those unsung heroes who pushed us when we could have settled for what is. I'm Derrin Slack, and this is Stood in the Gap, the show that focuses on the who, not the how, behind a leader's success. When I first founded ProAct, I had a goal in mind to find a mentor that can help me navigate this dog-eat-dog world of the nonprofit sector as a Black founder and a Black leader. Dr. Wallace McLaughlin was the only leader in the town that I reached out to at the time who agreed to sit down with me and listen. I remember walking into his office. It was a cold day. I had all my papers with me, and I sit down with him, and I say, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I need a mentor, and I would like you to be a mentor. He fit every checkbox that I had down for what a mentor could look like. A Black founder who is at a point in their career that I want to be in 10 to 15 years and has grown an organization from a small budget to at least a $3 million budget. And Dr. Wallace McLaughlin, the CEO and president of Fathers and Family Center, took that meeting for me. And I remember as clear as day, he said, I will not mentor you if you don't have your shit together. I don't know if he said shit, but he was very open and transparent with me about what he was looking for because he was protecting his time. But he takes this meeting with me, he sits down with me, I give him this 30-page business plan of what I wanted to do. And he said, I'll take this document, I'll take everything that you have, and I'll look it over, and I'll give you feedback. So we meet a second time, and Dr. Wallace marked every single line of that 20, 30-page document that I gave him and gave me the most candid feedback that some parts stung, but I appreciated it because already he was proving to me that he was going to be a good mentor. Long story short, this man has been in my corner since the beginning of ProAct, and his advice, his leadership, his friendship has helped make me the leader that I am today. I am so excited for you to hear his story, his powerful story as a Harvard graduate and graduate from an HBCU. I mean, he is just an incredible man. And I am so excited to sit down and have you all listen to the wisdom that this gentleman has and the knowledge that he has and hear his story. I hope you enjoy as much as I do. Let's do this. So, Dr. Wallace, thank you for being here today. I am so excited to sit down with you and share stories and just to build relationships again.
It's an honor and a privilege and to be here, to be alive and to be here with you and to see the great work you're continuing to do. So I'm excited about it from the time we met and where you are now. It's a lot of good stuff happening.
We always start with a little game called This or That. And so it's a rapid fire game. It's real fun, quick fire. And I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you have to answer with the first answer that comes to your mind.
Okay, now,
as
Derrin,
quick as you can.
Okay, but Derrin, you know I'm much older than you, and things don't come that fast now. So there will be some delayed reaction.
Well, I need you to tap into your inner child.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready? All right, Dr. Wallace. Pineapple pizza or candy corn?
Pineapple pizza.
Talking pets or talking babies?
Talking babies.
Winning the lottery or finding your soulmate?
Okay. Finding my soulmate.
Okay. Good answer. Good answer there. You listening, Carla? Misquoted movies or mistaken lyrics?
Misquoted movie.
Okay. Glass half full or glass half empty?
Glass half full.
Ketchup or ranch?
Ranch.
Sort by price or by rating?
Price.
Sauce on the side or sauce on the top?
Sauce on the top.
Crunchy peanut butter or smooth peanut butter?
Smooth peanut butter.
Zombies or vampires?
Vampires.
Funny story or one-liner?
Funny story.
And my favorite, bad breath or bad body odor?
Oh, Lord. Bad body odor.
So why the body odor?
Because bad breath is right in my face. The bad body odor I can walk away from or kind of fan the air. But
this is a good point. If you're smelling if you're smelling a breath, they're talking to you and they're right in front of you.
And right in front of you, and the face is where we interact.
Right.
So that's a bad impression.
It's good. Well, let's get into the brunt of our conversation today. Thank you for playing with me.
Thank you.
And you were quicker than you had given yourself credit for. So nice work. So this show is all about how others have stood in the gap for you. And we want to hear that story today. And so, Dr. Wallace, I mean, we focus this show and each episode on a series of words. And so I'm going to ask you right now, like, what were those 6 to 10 words that changed your life?
The 6 to 10 words that changed my life was, when do you want to graduate?
So tell the story behind that. Like, what was happening behind the scenes that led up to someone saying that to you?
I was at a real critical point in my graduate studies. And when I look at where I am today, and as I'm on the precipice of retiring, getting ready to end a professional career, I think about what has helped me get into that career and propel me along the journey. And it is clearly because having obtained a PhD that I was pursuing at Purdue University in the Department of Child Development and Family Studies. And so I remember early on the work and the grants that we were able to get. And I'm writing the history now for the agency. But I think even the early grants that we got was because I was a Black African-American male with a PhD. And that opened some doors. It gave some credibility to the work, particularly as a practitioner in the social service field. And generally, that's not the case. But it wasn't easy, and it was almost at a point at a time where I might not have gotten it. I was older as a graduate student. Also, it was kind of I think, a misalignment. When I say that is, when I left the divinity school at Harvard, that was a professional degree. We didn't take research courses. We didn't prepare for psychological statistics and things like that. And so when I came to Purdue, I wasn't aware, Purdue being a research institution, the amount of research I was going to have to do. So it was taking a toll on me. I tried to diminish the pain by also serving as a campus pastor at the Wesley Foundation. And that kind of took my attention off the studies times when I didn't want to do the studies. But I was at a critical point. I was getting older. I was thinking about not being able to visit my family on Christmas holidays. I would stay in Lafayette, be alone. I just realized I was getting older and tired, and I was having difficulty passing some of the research exam for the qualifying exam, or, well, even before then. And I had finally gotten to the point, do I even want to continue? Is it worth it? I can just stop. I have a master's degree, and I could probably turn that PhD degree, all the classwork I had done, into a master's degree and just write a thesis and leave. So I went to one of my mentors, one of the professors in the African American Studies department, and I went there really to ask her a question, really to get support of what I really wanted to do. And I really kind of asked her, and we just talking, and I said, well, Dr. Johnson, do you think I should go on or should I just quit? I wanted her to validate me quitting, throwing in the towel. And somebody said to me, sometimes the most important thing in life are not the answers we get, but the questions that are raised. But instead of her buying into what I was trying to do and tell me what I should do, she asked what I thought was just a profound question that kind of just knocked me back. And she said, well, when do you want to graduate? And I said, whoa, why are you asking me that? I felt it was like it disrupted my pity party story.
Because she didn't give you an excuse.
No. And I'm trying to say, don't you see my pain? Don't you see I want to get out of this? I want to quit. Right. I'm trying to give you the reasons and the rationale of why I'm too old and I should probably go on with my life and stop pursuing this doctorate degree. In a very calm manner, she asked me, when do you want to graduate?
So what did that do to you?
It made me stop and think. It made me realize the control was with me. I remember as an undergrad student, pledging in the fraternity and stuff like that, and I remember one of the poems we had to memorize was "If" by Rudyard Kipling. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the poignant line, you know, I'm the master of my fate, I'm the captain of my soul. Now, as I've learned later in life, sometimes that ain't true. But at that time, I realized, well, maybe it's up to me. I'm trying to put the control out there or ask somebody else, what should I do? Instead of me buckling down and saying, when do you? And I never thought about that. Well, maybe. Because she said, well, you need to decide when you want to graduate. Set a date and work backwards. And I said, you know, you're right. I'm tired. I want to get out of here. My mother's older. I want to get on with my life. I want to get out of here in December of 1993, that year. I think it was in the spring.
Oh, that was a long time ago.
Well, it wasn't that long. It's just like a couple years. but I, for the first time, said, because everything else was just cloudy. I didn't know when. I looked like I'd just been going to school forever. I had no definitive date. I was just going.
Sure.
Without taking charge and saying, you know what, I can take charge of this project. I can take charge of my dreams and say, let's put a stake in the ground and keep on instead of just running. So I decided, and with her, and there are two things I want to say. Yes, I decided on a date. December, I'm graduating. And I said this, in December, I'm graduating, come hell or high water, because I'm tired and I'm going to get out of here. So then I had to work backwards, and then I went back to my room and said, well, what do I need to do in order for that to happen?
Wow. Yeah.
I had to be very intentional, very specific. what do I need to do? And I really began to lay out. And then I began to set a calendar. I need to get the prospectus finished by this time. I need to then get my research done in the Indianapolis community by that time. And the month of so-and-so, I need to have the data analyzed. And after that, then I need to have the chapters completed and finished. Because then I know I had to meet the qualifying exams by a certain day. I had never defined the process and laid out the steps like project management, but of where I need to go and what I need to go by timetable.
And it took Dr. Johnson to say that to you to kind of...
I had never...
have you buck up.
It brought everything in perspective because I was almost like at a malaise. I was just meandering.
Sure.
I didn't... while they are simple words, they are profound. Because they were timely words.
Sure. You came at just the right time.
Came at the right time. I was getting ready and wanted somebody to validate, to join my pity party. And say, oh, yeah, hell, go on, quit. Go on, get this up. You wasted too much time.
Right. Yeah, it took someone to see you as you because she knew what your potential was, or is, rather.
Yeah, and she realized that we have to do that for other people, I think, we pour into or help along the journey is to remind them it is within them. If you had the dream, the power to complete the dream belongs to you. And I had kind of lost sight of that.
So where did that mindset come from in the first place? So tell us about your background.
What mindset?
Mindset of like your dreams, like they're yours, and if they don't work unless you do. And you come and you have an eclectic background. You went to a HBCU, then
I didn't go to a HBC.
Yeah. So talk to me about like your journey then. So remind me of that. Because you have a big family too.
Yeah, and I was wait a minute, and I was just talking. I was preaching on Sunday. I'm also a pastor, but I was preaching on Sunday, and I was reminding them I'm the 13th child, the last child, and the doctors had told my mother not to have any more kids because she had a calcium deficiency. The sermon was about falling short in life, and I said, in many ways, I had fallen short because it affected and impaired my self-esteem because I had severe soft bones, and I had to wear braces on my legs for over a year or two at night to straighten up my legs because I couldn't walk without those braces. Well, there's some things you all not know, but I couldn't walk. And my point was, in life, we are always going to fall short, but we can still overcompensate for that. And I did it through academic study. But it still affected me in my self-esteem because then I couldn't participate. My dad didn't want me to participate in anything athletically.
Yeah, you're the youngest. Right?
I'm the youngest. And so he said you would injure yourself. But even when I went to the Air Force, even though the other people in my flight saw my abilities to lead, I didn't see it because I'm still seeing myself in the image of being damaged from having soft bones and not being able to play sports. And so it eroded a lot of my confidence. Anyway, so I got through that. I think mostly because I had a great personality, so it overcompensated for the physical inabilities. But I went to, graduated from college, and then...
Which college was it? I thought it was an HBCU.
No, I graduated...
I am so mistaken.
I graduated from the University of West Georgia.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I never did have a chance to go to HBC. I got scholarships to Morehouse and Howard.
But you started your fraternity chapter.
I pledged Alpha at Mercer University, and then when I transferred to University of West Georgia, there was not a chapter there, so I started the chapter there.
Okay.
And,
it's all coming back to me.
Yeah, and so I started the chapter there. But after I graduated from college, I went into the Air Force. Then after the Air Force, I knew my calling was also ministry, and so I went to the divinity school at Harvard. But then I also knew I wanted to work and serve families and to make a difference in the community because there was a kind of a void because my father died when I was 13. So I wanted the church to have wraparound services and programs to support families in life and community. So there was a good program at Purdue University that I came out here and completed that program.
Yeah, and that was a PhD.
Yes.
So take me back a little bit. You mentioned that your dad died at 13. So tell us about that and how that affected you.
I remember also when he died, prior to his dying, he wanted me to have a bicycle. I saw him struggle. How it affected me, a good question. I think how it affected me, it made me very sensitive and acutely aware of the import of faith, family, and to be able to counterbalance the racism, the systemic racism, and the challenges we find in life. Because part and parcel of his death was because really of racism. At that time, doctors wouldn't see you unless, or admit you to the hospital unless they were there when you were admitted. And the white doctors in the neighborhood, we called and said something is wrong. I think he had already gone into a coma. We wanted him to come to the hospital. And the doctor said, well, I'm eating lunch and dinner, and I get to it when I get to it. Wow. So by the time eventually we just said, forget what you're saying, we're going to take him to the hospital. Well, he had been in the coma for so long. He was looking for a job as an older man. He had only pastored in the church, and the church didn't provide that much income. It was difficult at 60 and 59, 55, trying to find a job as a black man to lead his family. So it was devastating, but I think what gave a counterbalance to looking at the systemic racism when I was growing up, and I tell people this all the time, were the few white role models that I had in my community that helped mitigate any kind of sense of bitter and anger that I would have. So I have a healthy sense of race relations in life, because while there were even many of those in my black community that neglected and failed us, there were many. The gentleman that I worked with in the pharmacy, Mr. Rickerson, gave me a chance at life and believed in me. The lady, I do a lot of landscaping and flowers in my yard, is because an older white lady, Mrs. Bolt, took me in when everybody else told me, when I was looking for a job, told me to go to the back door. Well, all I want to know, can I cut your grass or rake your leaves? Boy, go to the back door. I went to her house, an older white lady. She said, yes, you can cut my grass. You can work for me. I worked for her for almost 3 or 4 years. And then the most exciting thing that I'll never forget her, and I told her, I said, Miss Bolt, now, I want to go to college when I graduate from high school. I'm trying to save up some money. I said, now, at the packing house, Peach Packing House, they pay 85 cents an hour. You're only paying me 50 cents an hour. And I said, can you give me a raise so I can save money to go to the University of Georgia? Now, that's where I started, at the University of Georgia. And she said yes, and she raised me $1.
Wow.
I said, "Whoa, now that's high living." I said, because I thought I was just really trying to get up to equal 85 cents. Right. But she taught me so much. And Mr. Rickerson, I asked his predecessor, would he give me a raise because I'm trying to go to school? And the older white gentleman said, no, I don't have the money. And when Mr. Rickerson came, he looked at me for about 6 months. He brought me into the office and he said, I was getting paid 75 cents an hour. He brought me into the office and he said, I'm going to give you a raise. I didn't even ask you. I asked your predecessor, but I had given up on it. Now, mind you, let me just say this. I thought for a second the older gentleman, the predecessor, wouldn't give me a raise. And in a spirit, evil spirit, really said to me, well, why don't you just steal anything out the store? The store is so junky, he wouldn't even know whether you stole something. And the good spirit, the Spirit of the Lord said, don't do that. That was not my upbringing. I said, okay, I won't. But a thought came for a minute. I can steal anything out of this store. But the new gentleman came in and said, I'm going to give you a raise. Wow. But Derrin, he took it a little further. He's going to raise you from 75 cents to $1.50 because I know you want to go to college. And he also said, I want you to run the cash register and help fill some of the prescription. I said, oh, man. I said, Mr. Rickerson, you don't understand where you are. Well, it ain't but no responsibility. You don't understand where you are.
Right.
This is Fort Valley, Georgia, and racism is alive. If your clients see me at the cash register and filling their prescriptions, you may lose your job here. He said, I don't care. He said,
Did you do it?
Oh, I did it.
Wow.
And the next week, elderly white lady came in and said she didn't want the N word. She didn't want me ringing up her medicine. And he said, "Man, well, you have to go somewhere else." He stood in the gap for me. He stood by me. That blew my mind.
Wow.
So people, it's not based on race or culture. People can stand in the gap for you,
Right.
of goodwill.
Yeah, and it sounds like, I mean, every time I go to your home, you're always out gardening.
Yes,
I didn't know that it came from a woman in your life that spoke to you and gave you a chance.
Well, but not
That's
only
amazing.
Well, not only. Well, but wait a minute.
That's still a part of you.
Wait a minute. Not only that, at the agency, the Fathers and Family Center, the flowers and the shrubs and the things and the plants in the building, I do that. Now, we finna hire a new president and CEO, and one of the things on the job description is that you got to take care of the plants and do the shrubs outside. And people will come by, funders will come by at the agency, and they will see me out in the yard.
Mm-hmm.
And one day I was out there planting some shrubs, and I had a kind of like a deja vu moment. I said, I was doing the same thing 40 years ago when Miss Boat let me work in her yard.
Right.
And that has never left me. And I got that from her, the sense of horticulture and working with plants and flowers. And I thank God for her. It made all the difference.
Yeah, it's a good hobby.
Yeah.
It's a great hobby.
And the beauty of it is, and one of your trick questions up front, about soulmate or win the lottery. And I should have said the lottery because I've already found my soulmate. But
way to bring it back.
Yeah, but my soulmate also loves planting, and so that is in tandem together.
So let's finish the story about your father passing away. So how did your mom react, and how did she bounce back to take care of 13 kids?
Well, no, it was not. Good question. It was not 13 at home then. All the older ones were gone in the military and in college. And I've said something in my class to the men that in terms of responsibility, and I shared with them, I could have been really irresponsible in terms of sexual irresponsibility and a lot of things like that. And there were some occasions where I could have been, but it was because I cared more about my family name and my mother. I didn't want people saying in the community, those boys, Miss McLaughlin got left there, they're not respecting her, they all in the streets, they doing this, and they got babies out here, this and that. I was concerned about my mother's. She was a saintly, godly woman, had not worked outside of the house per se, but was strong. And we all respected her. And I think it was not until I was working on my doctorate and took a summer off and I was at the University of San Diego and I was just in the library and I was reading about Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan's whole thesis and whole concept of female-headed household in the African-American family. And that's what President Johnson, part of the Poor People's Campaign was based on the negativity, which was really wrong, of a female-headed household in an African-American family. And then I thought for the first time, I said, I didn't realize I grew up in a single female-headed household because my dad was dead when I was 13. But one reason I didn't realize that, or that I was in a single female-headed household, because my dad's presence was always with me. I never thought he was dead. I mean, in one sense, because his presence was so strong, I could still hear his voice when it came to critical times to make decisions. Whether I went to the left or the right, I could hear my dad's voice.
It's amazing.
I used that same thought when my wife and I adopted our son. And I said, at my age, at that time, 54, why would you want to adopt a son? You don't know how long you're going to live and how long you will be around. And clear voice said to me, really, it doesn't matter. It's not about how long you live. It's the quality of life. And my father, even though he died at my young age of 13, it was the quality of the time that I had with him before he died that still stayed with me. That sense of respect. And if my father didn't say anything to me if I could try to remember what words did he impart into my life, it was simply this: you are somebody.
You are somebody.
At that time, I didn't know what he meant. But as I grew up in life and adulthood, in adolescence and teenager years and college years, it was my moral compass. You are somebody.
It sounds like those words were part of the driving force behind your success.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because if you are somebody, that means you can't think you're nobody. If you're nobody, Derrin, you don't have any say. You don't have any impact. And I think, to your question earlier, I think that was the beginning of it, because if I'm somebody, I can make a difference. I can say something.
That's right.
I never wanted to be a part of anything. I never wanted to live in society. I never wanted to be a part of the community thinking, well, ain't nothing we can do. That's what they said. I got to take whatever they say. No, I don't have to take nothing what anybody say. I can create my own future. I can dream and bring things about. And that's why I've created some institution, not only the agency in terms of founding presidency of the agency. At one point in my life, I started my own church, because if I don't see something right, I make something. But that came from, I think, those parting words from my dad would always tell me when he would gather with some of the other preachers, and they would be sitting by the fire talking, and I'd be like a little boy hanging out there, just sitting at their feet. But he would always say, you are somebody.
What would you say to those leaders or young professionals that are listening, if they have that gumption or feeling inside them that they need to do something? What would you say to them?
You are somebody.
I knew you were going to say that.
No, and I would get, and I would borrow from Malcolm X, I believe. Either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And I'm glad you asked that question, because I'm at a place in my life, at some point in time, man, I don't want to say it this way, but it's the reality of life. You're going to be X in the scene. You ain't going to be on stage forever. You're going to be walking off the stage. And I know that. But you would also like to know who's going to come on after you to continue the performance. And trying to pour into a new generation, particularly the millennials, is almost like, in many ways, particularly those that I run into, and maybe the ones I run into purposely are the ones I ought to run into, because those are the ones who are asleep. And I'm trying to give a clarion call. The answer to many and most of life problems belongs in you. And you need to be awakened to the divine spirit and the creative spirit within you to change. Dr. King quoted in one of his sermons, he, I think, preached about, on the text from Paul to Titus. And Titus, in the book of Titus, I think, Paul was in Crete. He said, Paul, I sent you there for this reason, to turn it around. And the Cretans were some bad boys. They were some thugs and some people, and nobody wanted to be bothered with them. And they were blasphemous, and they was all of this and that. Well, much like our society today in many ways. But he said, I sent you there for that specific purpose, to change it around. And I think we are called to places and spaces of grace to turn it around. Our society is going to hell in the handbasket. But I think a new generation of people will have to be awakened to turn it around.
And you're a good leader, Dr. Wallace. And
my
last question for you. You are a good leader. Don't be humble on me now.
It ain't no humble, but that's out for debate. Say that out at my going away ceremony, then, because I won't be able to challenge you.
Well, people think that you're a great leader. I do. And so I'm going to ask you this last question. How would you define leadership in one word? One word only.
Oh, you ask some hard questions. How can you can put it in one word? Service.
Now unpack that for me in one sentence. Why service?
Because we have to give of ourselves to make the world a better place. It's only through the humanity, the human spirit of service, of hand to hand and feet to feet and shoulder to shoulder, and serving others, that we meet their need and they meet our need. it's a communal thing. We learn from each other. And that's in itself, when you do service, it's leadership because other people see what must be done. And the way that sometimes people see what must be done, know what must be done. You can talk all the time from a 10-point, from a lectern, but people learn most often by seeing and doing.
And that, my friends, is how we stand the gap. Dr. Wallace, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate you. I love your insight and wisdom. You're a brilliant man and a brilliant friend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, let me ask you, who stood in the gap for you? What are the words that changed your life? If you can answer that question, then I want you on the show. Send me a message at Derrin@ProActIndy.org. That's Derrin, DERRIN, @ProActIndy.org.